What were you upset about earlier?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Me neither, but this is amazing! Celebrating 100 years of the company is the release of the new animated film Disney's Wish, not to be confused with the Disney Wish, which is the fifth and, as of this video, most recent of the Disney cruise ships. I envy the people who will get to watch this movie on that ship. Anyway, Wish, the movie, is about a girl named Asha who wants to become the apprentice of the king, until she finds out about his plan to keep the wishes that the citizens have given to him in hopes of getting them granted. There was a lot of anticipation for this after it was announced at the D23 Expo in 2022, saying how this would be something major to celebrate the big anniversary. When trailers were released, they didn't get the best reactions, but I don't think anyone flat out hated them. I was one of the people who was still anticipating this. Disney was hyping this up as a big ambitious project. It was clear that this would be another hit for Disney. Oh, that's unfortunate. As reviews started to come out, I was getting a little worried, but I still wanted to see the movie myself to form my own opinion. So I did see it, and it's not great, but also not bad. Don't get me wrong, it does have a lot of flaws, but come on now, you can't possibly tell me this is worse than Ralph Breaks the Internet or Strange World or Raya and the Last Dragon, which I was way too nice to in my review of that movie. But let's take a look at Wish and see what works and doesn't work. We have the main character, Asha, voiced by Ariana DeBose, who was, of course, in the Spielberg West Side Story movie, and you also may know her as... She really shines in this role, giving an excellent vocal performance that gets us to really connect with the character. She's just a regular person, she makes mistakes and is sometimes clumsy, but she has a heart that tells her to do the right thing, caring for her friends and family. I also think the villain is great. We haven't gotten a straight up non-twist villain in a Disney Animation Studios film since Tangled, I think. And King Magnifico really delivered on being evil all the way through. He doesn't have the strongest motivation out there, mainly just wanting as much power as he can get by controlling the wishes that are sent to him, but he's written in a way where you might at first see what he's trying to do, and then understand why he's in the wrong for doing it. And he is a whole lot of fun, with a great performance by Chris Pine. Unfortunately, these are the only two characters worth talking about. Well, them and the goat, but for very different reasons that I will get into. This movie tries to shove in a lot of characters, but they aren't given any focus to give them any kind of personality, as we don't know anything about them. Asha's group of friends are super annoying and one note. The only one of them who comes close to being an actual character is Dahlia, voiced by Jennifer Kumiyama, who Disney Parks fans might know from Aladdin: A Musical Spectacular, but the rest of them are just there and are forced into the climax of the film, despite being completely forgotten about for most of the middle. Aside from a couple of scenes, Asha doesn't interact with them much to make anything they do in the third act meaningful, and all the jokes they are given are really not funny, especially one that involved a cookie and it actually made me sick. However, they are not the worst characters. That would have to be the goat, the worst animal sidekick in a Disney film by far. For no reason at all, they decided to have him talk with Alan Tudyk voicing him using his Clayface voice.
I'm talking. I am talking. Who knew my voice would be this low?
Please! My phallus is not erect. It's my leg.
The goat is just another addition to Alan Tudyk's lineup of voicing annoying animals. Nothing the goat says has any purpose in the story. He doesn't say anything helpful, profound, or supportive. He's just there to make dumb jokes that are more annoying than funny. It's just like those talking flowers from Mario Bros. Wonder, but at least there you have the option to shut them up. I'm not opposed to having a talking animal in the movie, but you have to give them something to do other than just being the comic relief. Take Perrito from Puss in Boots 2 for example. Well, I mean, that movie has a lot of talking animals, but Perrito was clearly meant to be the comic relief. However, that wasn't his entire character. He also helped the characters in their journey and was there to support them, even being one to give them a realization. Speaking of which, his voice actor voices one of Asha's friends. 2 animated movies with Wish in the title released almost a year apart from each other. How crazy. But because one talking animal wasn't enough, they decided to have multiple talking animals because why not? Happy 100 years, Disney, am I right? The thing is, the movie does have a basic idea on how to make a comic relief character tolerable. We get introduced to the star, who is basically a Luma from Mario Galaxy. I know that's not an original joke, but I agree with it wholeheartedly. The star's role in the movie is dumb and pointless, but I'm not gonna delve on that. But it doesn't talk. meaning the humor they do with it is all visual, an excellent form of comedy without having to say some dumb one-liner every few seconds. Yes, this thing is clearly made to sell toys, but the old concept looked far worse, at least in my opinion. Anyway, the other side characters aren't anything worth noting. The queen doesn't do much, which is sad because the original concept of this movie had her being evil alongside the king, an idea that hasn't been done before in a Disney movie and would have made it more interesting. She helps out in the third act, but she isn't given a chance to be an actual character. She goes from being an ally to the king to betraying him after seeing what power has done to him, and that's the beginning, middle, and end of her arc. But I was especially disappointed with the handling of Asha's relatives. They had a good thing going here, but the movie doesn't go further with it. They barely have a presence. A lot of ideas are introduced but not explored enough, causing a lot of emotional stakes to be lost. Had the movie been longer, it could have been easier to become emotionally attached to the characters. That disappoints me because it has a great message about pursuing your dreams, but it seems like they simply came up with that message and struggled to figure out how to convey it. They did it in such a boring and uneventful way, barely any character building or world building. One thing I've seen people mixed on is the art style, and I can see where both sides are coming from, but I'm personally on the side of those who really like it. It gives the movie its own artistic identity, a nice use of painted watercolor backgrounds with 3D animated characters that blend in pretty well. The animation, however, is kind of a mixed bag. When you just simply look at stills from the movie, it looks beautiful, but when it's put in motion, that's when it becomes clunky. It's hard to explain, but the movements of the characters don't make this look like movie quality. It certainly doesn't help that the characters move in such a cartoonish way. It's hard to take anything happening seriously when every character acts like a cartoon. But it doesn't matter though, because a standout aspect that these movies seem to have is the soundtrack. Disney is known for creating musicals with wonderful songs that can be remembered for years to come. So for the Big 100, it's crucial that they create some absolute banger hits. They all suck. These songs are horrible beyond belief. These are some of the most generic, poorly written pieces of pop crap I have ever heard from this studio. Welcome to Roses is just a worse version of Family Madrigal. At All Costs just feels more like filler than anything. It's the closest one to being good, but it lacks any kind of emotional weight. This Wish feels more like a parody of I Want songs than an actual I Want song. Like seriously, these lyrics are so bad that it's hard to believe that it wasn't written as a joke. There's also I'm a Star, which is the worst song in the movie. Then there's This Is the Things I Get, Disney's first villain song in years. Chris Pine performs it well, but considering it plays this far into the movie where the king starts to grow more mad with power, the upbeat tone feels out of place. As for Knowing What I Know Now, it just sounds like something that you would hear on Disney Channel. And it has such a bland tune. The songs were written by Julia Michaels, a pop songwriter who has written hits such as Lose You to Love Me by Selena Gomez, Nervous by Shawn Mendes, Sorry by Justin Bieber? Yeah, it's not surprising why the soundtrack turned out the way it did. It gives off the impression that Disney just wanted another hit that could potentially be played on the radio, not caring about how it works in the movie itself. These definitely aren't songs that I will be playing often like I do with Go the Distance or We Don't Talk About Bruno. The Easter eggs and references found in the movie started out cute with their subtlety, but they became more blatant as the movie went on. Having a poison apple in one shot? That's an example of a subtle Easter egg. A character dressing up as Peter Pan and having him actually be named Peter? That's taking things a little too far. It would be like if Quasimodo saw Belle and said, "Hi Belle, I know you're not in the correct time period, but it's nice to see you're doing well after you didn't get your well-deserved Best Picture win." There's even one scene involving the king that made me laugh out loud. It was just so dumb. I don't even know why they needed all these Easter eggs in the first place. It's like they're just trying to remind us of the classic Disney days instead of letting the movie stand out on its own. It's good for an anniversary celebration, but how will this hold up when someone goes to rewatch it in a few years? Won't someone be asking why Chicken Little appears in the credits? When you look at the Mario movie, the Easter eggs are mostly... Wait, why do I keep bringing up Mario in this review? Anyway, that movie has a lot of Easter eggs, but they make sense within the film since it's a movie based on Nintendo's biggest game franchise, thus feeling more justified. I mean, come on, we already have Once Upon a Studio. That should have been enough of a fan service-filled celebration. Speaking of that, it actually does not play in theaters with Wish like they promised it would. I guess they didn't want to make Wish look even more disappointing by putting something brilliant in front of it. Seriously, Once Upon a Studio is one of the best shorts the studio has created, so it's not like they are completely devoid of talent these days, and even the people involved with this movie I know are capable of better writing. I don't know what happened with this one, but it definitely fell flat in a lot of parts. At times it felt like the movie was trying to talk down to its audience because they're making it for children. Some of the dialogue is a little too on the nose, it relies on a lot of childish humor, mainly with the talking goat, and the song lyrics are half-assed. But aside from Home on the Range, the other movies never had to try so hard to appeal to kids. They were all able to be enjoyed by adults as well. Even Ralph Breaks the Internet, as terrible as it is, has adult themes. Even this year, Pixar released Elemental, which has a strong message about immigration. I didn't review Elemental, but I personally think it's a great film. When I watched Wish in the theater, the kids seemed to really enjoy it. One of them was even dancing during the chicken scene, which was funnier than anything in the movie. There's nothing wrong with a movie being for kids, but Disney has been known for creating stories for all ages, which doesn't offer much more than silly gags for kids to laugh at and references for Disney fans to point out. The story is fine, the concept is fine, it just ended up being unremarkable in practice. I know it seems like I'm hating this film, I don't hate it. I think it's perfectly watchable, but other animated movies weren't afraid to take risks, as we've seen with movies like Spider-Verse and Puss in Boots 2. I still appreciate the existence of Wish though. It's always refreshing to see a new original movie from Disney, especially knowing that they are working on more Frozen sequels and more remakes. That live-action Snow White movie is going to suck. Rachel Zegler is innocent though. Wish is a pretty disappointing addition to the Disney Animation Studios lineup. While better than movies like Ralph 2, Raya and the Last Dragon, Frozen 2, and Strange World, a movie from a major animation studio released in their company's 100th year should have been better than it actually was. At best, it is a direct-to-streaming movie that they decided to put in theaters. If you really want to check it out, I recommend waiting for the Disney Plus release, which a lot of people seem to be doing. On the bright side, Across the Spider-Verse's Oscar chances are even higher than they were before, though The Boy and the Heron probably has equal chance, based on what I've heard. Looking forward to watching that. This may not be that bad, but Disney still should have wished for a better movie.